Hi, and welcome back to Pages, Picks, and Pans. And I recently watched The Big Sleep, which is Humphrey Bogart doing Philip Marlowe. And I'd read that book and I wanted to see how it compared to the film. And I mostly enjoyed that film. I think I gave it a pick. Solid, entertaining noir film. So then before I reviewed that film, I did a bit of research and I discovered that there are more Philip Marlowe films, with Marlowe being played by very different people. One of the other examples of that I had to go and find, and that is The Long Goodbye, with Elliott Gould as Marlowe. And this is an Altman film, and it was early in his career, just shortly after MASH, which was freaking amazing. It definitely feels like an Altman film. It's very dry humor throughout, and Gould is a great private eye, not at all like Bogart's private eye. There's a very different feel about it, and it's more appropriate for the era. This was wildly entertaining too, in a very different way. I got hung up on a small detail that actually turned out to be a big deal in the film, and it was kind of interesting. The whole sort of MacGuffin about his cat was annoying. But the fact that he goes out in the middle of the night to try and find cat food for his very picky cat was amusing. I enjoyed it. I found the sort of primary foil in this to be a very interesting character. There's a lot about this that is very 1970s, and yet still fits into the private eye oeuvre, if you want to go that way. It just kind of updates it. So if you are looking for a decent sort of whodunit kind of film, it's not a police procedural because this guy does not follow rules. But I didn't find myself freaking out as much as I did during The Big Sleep. Because The Big Sleep is so much older and filmed at a time when they weren't aware of forensics, and the process of collecting evidence the way that we do in more modern era. This one is almost at the state where forensics were a big deal. Like that really came into being in the sort of mid to late 70s, early 80s. So this is just leading up to that. I mean, I think people knew a bit better at that point what they were doing. It's interesting to see how the private detectives interact with the police in both of those films. It's a little bit, they don't really have respect for each other, but they understand why each other needs to exist. I don't know. It's really interesting, and it may be a genre that I need to dig into a bit more. But yeah, I would give this one a solid 4. It definitely stands up. Surprisingly, I was not expecting that. And the ending was not. Didn't expect it. Didn't see it coming. Couldn't have predicted it. Love that. I love that I did not predict where this film was going. That is always a very good sign for me, because I find most movies very predictable. And that doesn't always ruin a movie for me, but it can sort of really shift how I feel about it later. Anyway, so that's it for this edition of Pages, Picks, and Pans, and I hope you'll keep coming back and joining me for my little opinions.